George C. Burris.
You may be seated. We're here in the matter of medical specialists, PC, Pavlos, MD, Panik, Seth, MD, Keenan, Tassi, MD, and Sanjay Patel, MD, versus Medical Specialist, Inc., PC, and Franciscan Alliance, Inc. Intervenor, Karen Jordan, versus Medical Specialist, Inc., PC, and Franciscan Alliance, Inc. Intervenor. 45 CO1 1210 PL 102. For the record, would everyone identify themselves?
Your Honor, John Reed, Abraham Reed Bells on behalf of the plaintiffs, Bobby Leos, Puneet Sethi, Sanjay Patel, and Keenan Tassi.
Good morning, Your Honor. Harold Abrahamson on behalf of the plaintiffs.
Good morning, Your Honor. Jonathan Holm on behalf of the plaintiffs.
Good morning, Your Honor. Jane Mays, legal assistant on behalf of the plaintiffs.
Good morning, David Jensen on behalf of Medical Specialists.
Robert Anderson here for Franciscan Alliance.
Melissa Sarmatakis for medical specialists.
All right. Are there any preliminary matters we need to go over?
Yes, Your Honor. We have a motion to quash the trial subpoenas. One of the witnesses scheduled to appear today.
Do you want to argue from there, or do you want to approach, or you want to just start?
Have you argued from here into your motion? Or do you want to do it?
One of the witnesses scheduled or subpoenaed to appear for today is Elliot Stoker. We filed a motion to quash on his behalf. Dr. Stoker has 3 patients scheduled for procedures this afternoon, 2 of whom have presumed cancer diagnoses and are awaiting confirmation. One of whom is coughing up blood and needs evaluation of that condition. These patients are already fasting in order to prepare for their procedures. We are not in a position, or Dr. Stoker is not in a position to be able to schedule those procedures because, as the plaintiffs are aware, the Rosh Hashanah holiday begins this evening and goes until Thursday and Friday of this week. So these patients cannot be rescheduled tomorrow or Friday. The plaintiffs have known since August 12th, when they filed their motion to continue the hearing on this matter, that the Rosh Hashanah holiday fell on September 4th, today's date. In fact, that issue was specifically addressed to this court, who then suggested that we could take several days the last week of August in order to accommodate that holiday and to avoid the inevitable scheduling conflicts that would arise. The plaintiffs rejected that date and instead opted for this date. So now we're in a position where Dr. Stoker has patient responsibilities that he cannot avoid and cannot reschedule because of his observance of the holiday. And, Your Honor, we did not find out definitively that Dr. Stoker was going to be called to testify until Monday. There were trial subpoenas that were served on August 27th and served not only on Dr. Stoker, but on 7 other witnesses. And in the cover letter to those trial subpoenas, the plaintiff specifically told us, given the time constraints that we were laboring under, I have subpoenaed each of the witnesses to appear on both days, today and tomorrow, at 9 o'clock a.m. We do not anticipate that will be necessary for all the witnesses to attend the hearing for both days. We also believe that we can avoid calling at least one of the above referenced witnesses by submitting deposition testimony. Please contact me to discuss these matters. We did contact plaintiffs repeatedly over the course of the next week to receive confirmation as to who they wanted to call and whether some deposition transcript could be read in lieu of their testimony as indicated in this cover letter. Dr. Stoker has, in fact, given a deposition that lasted approximately an hour and a half. He answered all questions that they wanted to ask. There was no allegation that he was evasive or in any way did not provide all the information that they needed or wanted to present. And of course, under 32, if Dr. Stoker is deemed unavailable, then the plaintiffs are free to use his deposition testimony in whatever manner they proceed. as necessary. So for those reasons, we ask that the motion to quash Dr. Stoker's trial appearance be granted.
Yes, Your Honor, in response, just to clear a couple of things up. Those subpoenas were not served Monday, as in this Monday. They were served the preceding Monday. So going on almost 2 weeks ago at this point. Same folks who were going to subpoena from the previous hearing, they knew we wanted to subpoena Dr. Stoker, and we did subpoena Dr. Stoker. Never in that colloquial way of we asked if we could do depositions, we wanted to do these things, did you hear that I released that subpoena? In fact, I point that out very clearly in the emails that I submitted, which I filed this morning, submitted to the opposing parties yesterday. The email chain between Ms. Stamatakos and myself, where I said I have no objection to reading in the admissible evidence for those two, one of which is Dr. Stoker. However, I made it clear that we want Dr. Stoker live, and I do not waive the subpoena, which I've said all along. I have never waived the subpoena. We want him here live. My four plaintiffs are all doctors. They have all managed to cancel their schedules. This was known about back on August 19th when we rescheduled this hearing. The fact that Dr. Stoker set patients for that day, knowing that he's a material witness, not just, Your Honor, as a physician who formerly practiced for medical specialist St. PC, he's also a shareholder there and one of the founding members of that corporation and should be present here to answer our questions. The judge, if he is not here, Judge, you don't have any opportunity to observe his demeanor, whether he's confused, whether he understands what's going on, how his reactions take. In this context, unlike the summary judgment context, you are the judge of the evidence and you do weigh the evidence at this stage of this trial. We can't present this gentleman live. We have agreed to read some other depositions. We specifically did not want Dr. Stoker read because Dr. Stoker, I'm just going to put it blunt, not a great witness, doesn't testify well. Okay? I don't know that he knows what's going on throughout this transaction, frankly, and the shell game that's being played with various companies is also something that's interesting to talk to Dr. Stoker about. And to observe his demeanor in that context is very important. To say that we only knew about this a day ago that he was going to have to testify is disingenuous. We've known that this hearing was going to be today since August 19th. Yes, the Rosh Hashanah holiday starts. I would be happy to take Dr. Stoker out of order. If you were here this morning, I would take him this morning. Okay? Rosh Hashanah starts at sundown. Mr. Abrahams is here. He will work until sundown tonight. Be that as it may, we think we're entitled to have the witnesses that were properly subpoenaed for this hearing who had noticed well in advance and could have rescheduled these patients. What's more, Dr. Stoker is an employee of the Franciscan Alliance, and that particular organization has, I don't know how many pulmonologists it has that do this procedure, but it has something like 600 physicians. So I'm not so sure that Dr. Stoker isn't here because these things really have to be done and they have to be done today, or because maybe he doesn't make a good witness, but I think I'm entitled to have it.
So if I'm understanding it correctly, you're just making up an excuse because Dr. Stoker doesn't testify well. Nothing could be further from the truth. I filed a verified motion setting forth the reasons why he cannot be here. I have an affidavit from him as well, which I'm happy to submit to the court. The notion that we should have known that they were going to call Dr. Stoker is absurd, given the fact that they didn't know it themselves, as indicated by their August 27th letter when they told us we don't know exactly who we're going to need to call, and we don't know if we're going to be able to use deposition testimony in lieu of live testimony. They subpoenaed 7 other witnesses. They released 3 of those witnesses. This is their case. We don't know who they believe to be material to their case. If Dr. Stoker were really that crucial and that critical, they could have served trial subpoena on him the day that this matter was continued on August 12th, and they didn't do that. Even on August 27th, they couldn't definitively tell us whether he was going to be called. Even as late as Labor Day, I was having communications with Mr. Reed to relieve Dr. Stoker, and I did not receive confirmation that we need Dr. Stoker, as well as Dr. Stemmer, Ms. Green, Dr. Weaver, and Dr. Ravenmaker today. That was the date that I received confirmation. If they didn't know until Monday for the confirmation, I don't know how people are supposed to do that. It is unreasonable, given the fact that we have this late notice, that he is pressing patient obligations, which are legitimate, and the fact that he has already given sworn testimony to require him to abrogate his patient responsibilities and come here today.
What do you expect Dr. Stoker to testify to that's not in his deposition?
Your Honor, I don't expect this testimony to be different. I expect that the court is the judge of the evidence and the credibility of the witnesses. And I think Dr. Stokar's demeanor, mannerisms, the way in which he answers questions play a crucial role in our case.
How long does the holiday?
It starts at sundown tonight and it lasts through until Friday.
Friday, to what time? The one Friday,
Sunset, which we all knew about when this hearing was rescheduled. They effectively would have required them to compress all this patient care during Labor Day into one day.
Or use one of the other pulmonologists amongst the 600 physicians at Franciscan.
Well, if his deposition testimony is going to be pretty much the same as what he's going to testify, what he will testify to lie, I mean, why is it so important that he be here when he has patients and the holiday?
Well, Your Honor, it's only important in the fact that at this stage of the proceedings, Your Honor should be entitled to, or we should be entitled to have you see the demeanor and mannerisms and so forth of the witnesses, because you're judging their...
How many other witnesses do we have?
We have Dr. Stemma this morning. We have two of the staff who went with the plaintiffs to the new practices. Again, we arranged for Dr. Weaver in 2 days' notice. Dr. Weaver, Dr. Ravenacre to be here, first Dr. Stover, always going to be here, as well as the screen, who are available to testify despite their patient obligations. Your Honor, one of the reasons that the court continued this matter in the first instance, I believe there was representation that the additional time would give the plaintiffs the opportunity to take depositions, which would obligate them to call all of these witnesses during this proceeding. It was specifically contemplated that in order to escalate matters to be able to do that. This is only a preliminary injunction, it's not a final hearing.
And Your Honor, in that vein, then why don't we just submit, Your Honor, 10,000 pages of depositions and call it a day and just submit arguments. The point is you get to see the witnesses live. You also get to question these witnesses if you wish, of course. And I keep hearing repeatedly that we're talking about 2 days' notice. I dutifully, correctly, and under the law issued my trial subpoenas on August 27th. Here we are September 4th, and I'm being told I gave notice 2 days ago. Until I release somebody from a subpoena, they are under subpoena.
All right. Let's begin presenting the evidence in hours of improvement in this.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, another preliminary matter. I think the parties all agree that we want to have a separation of witnesses other than the principals.
All right. Who is the principals?
Trevor for medical specialist will remain.
Barbara Green is here for Franciscan Alliance.
Okay.
Your Honor, Franciscan Alliance is not a part of this preliminary injunction.
Oh, with all due respect, we are a party in the case, and I think we're entitled to be here for the preliminary injunction.
Your Honor, they've been very specific about not being a party to this preliminary injunction. She's only a witness in this. She's only a witness in this instance. Franciscan has no dog in this fight.
What we agreed to in open court was that we wouldn't be participating in the hearing. Franciscan Alliance is still very much a party in this case and is entitled to have a corporate representative at this hearing.
Had we had one that wasn't a witness.
I don't think he doesn't get to pick that. I get to pick who the Franciscan Alliance corporate representative is. The reason she's a witness is because she's been intimately involved in this transaction, and she should be here for the Franciscan Alliance.
Well,
Your Honor, the only thing she can do
they
is
can
hearing
designate a party to be here,
testify.
can't they?
I'm sorry.
They can designate who they wish to be here on their behalf.
Your Honor, I won't disagree with you there, but I will say this. The purpose of Ms. Green's presence in this courtroom, other than to glean how to better testify, I can't imagine what it would be. She's represented by a learned counsel who's here. There'll be a transcript of this proceeding if someone wants to read it. She's a material witness as to medical specialist motion for injunction. Franciscan is not a movement here. They're not a responding party here. They're an observer here.
The reason you permitted us to intervene was because you recognized we have a legitimate interest in this litigation. We still have a legitimate interest in this litigation. Barbara Green has also been deposed for about 3 hours pursuant to Indiana Rule of Evidence 615. The court can exclude witnesses, but the parties do have the right to have a party representative available, and we're asking that she be allowed to stay in court. Her testimony is not going to be a mystery. They deposed her as well.
All right. Yeah. They're kind of that.
So I think then just,
So, why don't you read the names out, whoever is not on the, is not
Your
on.
Honor, the plaintiffs, Dr. Sepia, Tassi, Leos, and Patel, obviously are parties,
Right.
parties into this particular motion. They would stay. The two medical assistants then would be separated.
All right, so that's all you have here for the parties.
At this moment, that's right.
And who's here for the defendant?
We just had Barbara Green who's here as a representative, and Dr. Stemmer here is
So right now, no one has to leave the courtroom? Is that what-
just the
two
two
ladies.
medical assistants in the back.
Okay.
There's a gentleman in the back.
Yeah.
I don't have everything. Your Honor, we also have this morning, plaintiffs have filed a motion pursuant to Charter Rule 52A1 that the parties be permitted to submit findings and conclusions. I believe that under Rule 52A1 it's required by the court in a preliminary basis to have those.
All right.
We're ready to proceed. Does Your Honor wish any opening comments, or do you want to start with the evidence?
Why don't we start with the others? Sure we want to close it.
Dr. Stemmer? Take it straight down. Thank you.
Raise your right hand, sir. Swear affirm testimony you're about to give the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, swear up you got. I do. State your name out loud for the court, please.
Alexander Arnold Lewis Stemmer, S-T-E-M-E-R.
For the record, you stated your name. Are you a physician licensed to practice in the state of Indiana?
Yes, I am.
How long have you been so licensed?
Since 1977,
Of what medical school are you a graduate?
University of Illinois College of Medicine.
After graduation, did you undertake an internship?
Yes, I did.
At what institution?
Rush University.
For how long, sir?
The internship was 1 year.
In what field?
Straight internal medicine.
After completing the internship, did you undertake a residency?
Yes, I did.
At what institution?
Rush.
For how long?
2 years.
In what medical specialty?
Internal medicine.
After completing the residency in internal medicine, what did you do?
I completed a fellowship in infectious disease.
And where was that fellowship conducted?
The same institution, Rush.
Are you certified by any specialty boards?
Yes, I am.
Which ones?
The American Board of Internal Medicine and the American Board of Infectious Disease.
When did you commence the practice of medicine in the state of Indiana?
1978.
Since that time, have you held any academic appointments?
Yes, I have.
Which ones?
I was and remain an assistant professor of medicine at Rush, and I am an associate clinical professor of medicine at Indiana University.
And what are your duties and responsibilities at Indiana University?
I'm involved in some strategic planning and occasionally involved in some teaching. Have conducted some lectures on their behalf.
Have you practiced medicine under the name and style of Medical Specialists PC Inc.?
Medical Specialist Inc. PC, yes, I have.
Since when?
Medical Specialist Inc. PC, I believe, came into existence in 1981.
And in what business is Medical Specialist engaged?
It provides medical personnel, primarily physicians, nurse practitioners, and physician assistants for providing the highest quality medical services to the people of Northwest Indiana and the surrounding counties.
And for how long has that been the case?
Since its initiation in 1981.
At what hospitals have medical specialist employed physicians been admitted to practice in the state of Indiana?
St. Margaret Mercy Healthcare Centers, North and South, Munster Community Hospital, Kindred Hospital in Hammond, St. Catherine Hospital in East Chicago, and Regency Hospital in East Chicago, Methodist Hospital, both in Gary and Maryville, Franciscan Health of Munster, formerly Franciscan Physicians Hospital in Munster, St. Anthony Hospital in Crown Point, St. Mary Medical Center in Hobart, Port Memorial Hospital in Valparaiso, St. Anthony Hospital, Michigan City, LaPorte Regional Hospital, IU Health in LaPorte, Indiana, and Regency Hospital in Portage, Indiana, as well as Vibra Hospital in Crown Point, Indiana.
Do you have a job title or designation with medical specialists?
Yes,
What is that?
I'm the president.
And is medical specialist governed by a board of directors?
It has officers and shareholders.
And approximately how many shareholders are there, sir?
7.
Can you name them?
Yes. Myself, Dr. Stoker, Dr. Smith and Dr. Dumont, Dr. Farah, Dr. Dreyfus, and Dr. Rich, R-E-I-C-H.
How long have you served as president of medical specialists?
Since its inception,
Has medical specialists employed other physicians?
yes.
Approximately how many?
Approximately 60.
In what specialties?
Approximately 12 specialties. Would you like me to enumerate them?
Yes.
Okay. Infectious disease, pulmonary medicine, rheumatology, endocrinology, allergy and immunology, dermatology, internal medicine, pediatrics, obstetrics and gynecology, orthopedic surgery, and podiatry. And I believe that completes that list.
And have those specialists in those fields been employed pursuant to employment agreements?
Yes.
And how long has medical specialists been using employment agreements to secure the services of physicians who work for it?
Since its inception,
Since its inception, has medical specialists also entered into contracts with various local hospitals and healthcare institutions to provide various non-clinical services?
yes.
Does medical specialists have a medical director agreement with St. Catherine Hospital in East Chicago?
Yes.
And before I have you identify the current agreement, how long has medical specialists had a medical director relationship with St. Catherine Hospital in East Chicago?
The first medical directorship was with A-Stemmer MD Inc., which was in 1979, and that was continued with medical specialists in 1981. And the pulmonary directorship started in 1981.
Let me show you what's been marked for identification as Defendant's Exhibit A. And can you look at that document briefly and tell me what it is?
Yes, it's a medical director agreement with St. Catherine Hospital, entered into January 1st, 2013, for the supervision of the hospital's respiratory department.
We'll offer Exhibit A.
Any objections?
No objection, Your Honor.
And is there a medical specialist physician who has been providing respiratory services pursuant to agreements with St. Catherine Hospital?
Yes,
And who is that?
Dr. Elliot Stoker.
And what are the duties and responsibilities of the medical specialist employee with regard to the respiratory services portion of that agreement?
He oversees the delivery of all respiratory services within the hospital and assures the quality of such services in compliance with regulatory requirements, and is available to respond to medically important questions.
And has medical specialists been paid for those services over the years?
Yes.
Does medical specialists have any medical director agreements with Community Hospital in Munster?
Yes.
Let me show you what's been marked for identification as Exhibit B. Can you identify that document, Dr. Stemmer?
Yes.
And what is the date of that document?
January 1st, 2013.
And for what type or kind of services is that document?
This is for the medical director of the wound care services of the hospital.
And who are the contracting parties to that contract?
The Munster Medical Research Foundation, doing business as Community Hospital, and medical specialists.
And does both Exhibit A and Exhibit B contain your signatures?
I'll need to look. Exhibit A is signed by Dr. Stoker.
And Exhibit B?
Is signed by Dr. Daniel Smith and myself.
And who is Dr. Daniel Smith?
Dr. Daniel Smith is an infectious disease specialist and one of the founding partners of medical specialists.
We'll offer Exhibit B.
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, Exhibit B is in.
Let me show you what's been marked by the reporter as Defendant's Exhibit C, and I'll ask you to look at that for a moment, and then you can tell us what that is.
is the contract to be the director of respiratory services at Community Hospital.
And is that a document that reflects a contract between medical specialists and Munster Medical?
Yes.
And does it have your signature?
This one is signed by Dr. Don Dumont,
And who is Don Dumont?
another of the founding partners of medical specialists, the pulmonologist.
Will offer Exhibit C.
David, in paragraph 5.7, the document was redacted. The others don't seem to be. I don't know that it's relevant. The other documents seem to contain a value of $10,000, something like that. Section 5.7.
Yes, I see.
I don't think that's material. We don't object now.
C is admitted.
Let me show you what the court reporter has marked for identification as Exhibit Number D. You take a look at that document, Dr. Scott.
Yes.
And what is that document?
This is an agreement to provide medical director services to St. Catherine Hospital by medical specialists.
And can you indicate to us whether or not you are a signatory to that agreement on behalf of medical specialists?
Yes, this contract indicates I signed this contract on January 16th, 2013.
Go offer Exhibit D.
David, I think this is duplicative. I think this is exactly the same agreement as Exhibit A. Just with A. This is St. Catherine's Infectious Disease, and Dr. Stummer as the designee. I think it's the same guy.
I think that this was respiratory.
Exhibit A is respiratory services.
Oh, you gave me the infection control. I got the wrong copy. I'm sorry. No objection, Your Honor.
Exhibit D is admitted.
Let me show you what's been marked for identification as Exhibit E. Would you look at that and tell us what that document is?
This is a contract between medical specialists and St. Mary Medical Center for the provision of medical director services for infection control.
And does that document bear your signature?
Yes, it's signed by me on April 8th of 2013.
So offer Exhibit E.
No objection, Your Honor.
Exhibit E is admitted.
And Exhibit F. Will you look, please, at Exhibit F?
Yes, this is a contract for medical directorship between St. Mary Medical Center and medical specialist for the Director of Wound Care Services.
And does that document also bear your signature?
It's signed by me on April 8th, 2013.
We'll offer Exhibit F.
No objection, Your Honor.
Exhibit F.
Now, with regard to Exhibit B, Dr. Stemmer, the agreement, the medical director agreement to offer wound care and ostotomy services. What are the type and kind of services that are offered with regard to that agreement to community hospital?
The medical director duties include supervision and administration of medical functions and medical activities. In this particular case, I believe that the physician is also expected to provide clinical services in that wound care center.
With regard, and then is medical specialist to be paid for the services that it renders?
Yes.
Defendant's Exhibit C. What are the duties and responsibilities entailed in discharging the responsibilities under the contract marked as Exhibit C?
The physician shall act as medical director of the department to perform the administrative and supervisory services required for the operation of the department.
And is medical specialists to be paid with regard to those services as well?
Yes.
Now, with regard to Exhibit D, Exhibit D is the infection control services at St. Catherine Hospital.
Yes.
What are the duties and responsibilities?
The medical director shall include supervision and administration of the medical functions and medical activities of the department pursuant to the policies of the hospital.
And is medical specialist supposed to be paid for those performance of those duties and responsibilities?
Yes.
Now let's look at Exhibit E. And what duties and responsibilities are supposed to be carried out with regard to Exhibit E?
This would again be infection control services, and I need to find that paragraph, but it would roughly be the same as the ones described for Dr. Smith at St. Catherine. Dr. Smith, it would roughly be the ones that already defined it for pulmonary. Let me see if I can find that specifically for you. Supervision and administration of the medical functions and medical activities of the department pursuant to the policies of the hospital.
And then, with regard to Exhibit F, for the medical director position at St. Mary Medical Center, and if you would look, please, at Exhibit A there, too.
These are, this is the contract for wound care and it includes a much longer page of responsibilities, literally 24 numbered items.
And is medical specialists to be paid for the discharge of those duties and responsibilities?
Yes.
And with what frequency are payments made for the services rendered under those contracts?
Typically, timesheets are requested monthly, and payment is made monthly.
And have payments been made to medical specialists for the discharge of those services in 2013?
They have been paid and are current.
Do each of the physician plaintiffs, Dr. Laus, Dr. Sethi, Dr. Patel, and Dr. Atassi, have medical specialist employment contracts that were in effect prior to the date they terminated their services?
Yes.
I'm showing you now what has been marked as Defendant's Exhibit G. Can you identify that document for me?
The employment agreement of Dr. Puneet Sethi with medical specialists.
And is there a signature page on that document?
Yes.
And who signed on behalf of medical specialists?
I did.
And does it also contain Dr. Sethi's signature?
Yes.
Let me show you, and we'll offer what has been marked for identification as G.
Your Honor, while we have no objection to the document, we do object, subject to later proof of the witnesses at the station that the document was enforced in effect until it terminated. We believe that is not the case, but subject to that, we don't object to the omission of the document.
So that the admitted
Let me show you what's been marked for identification as Defendant's Exhibit H. Do you see that, sir?
Yes.
And can you identify what that document is?
It is I believe, an addendum to Dr. Suthi's contract, which includes a change in includes guaranteed minimum total compensation and automobile allowance, and when payments will be made.
And is it signed by you?
Yes, it is.
And is it signed by Dr. Sutton?
Yes.
We'll offer that exhibit.
No objection to the exhibit. However, we do object to the characterization of it as an addendum to his contract. It is a letter between the parties.
Now, if you would, Dr. Stemmer, with regard to Dr. Sethi, would you turn to page 7, paragraph 4.4, 4.5, 4.6, 4.7. Do you see those?
Yes.
Are those restrictive covenants?
Yes.
Let me show you what's been marked for identification as Defendant's Exhibit I. Can you tell us what Exhibit I is, sir?
It's an employment agreement with Dr. Kenan Atasi and medical specialist.
And if you would turn, please, to page 10 of that document. Do signatures appear?
Yes.
Who signed on behalf of medical specialists in PC?
I did.
And who signed on behalf of Dr. Atasi?
Dr. Atasi.
We'll offer the Atasi contract.
No objection, Your Honor.
Will you turn, please, to page 7 and page 8 of that document and look at paragraphs 4.4, 4.5, 4.6, and 4.7. Do you see them?
Yes, I do.
Are those restrictive covenants?
Yes.
Let me show you what's been marked for identification as Exhibit J. What is that document?
It's an employment agreement between medical specialists and Dr. Sanjay Patel.
And if you turn to page 10, does that document contain your signature?
Yes, it does.
And on whose behalf did you sign?
Medical specialist.
And does it also contain Dr. Patel's signature?
Yes, it does.
We'll offer Exhibit J.
No objection, Your Honor.
Will you turn, please, sir, to page 7, paragraphs 4.4, 4.5, 4.6, and 4.7. Do you have them in front of you?
Yes, I do.
Are those restrictive covenants?
Yes, they are.
Let me show you what's marked for identification as Defendant's Exhibit K. Can you identify that document for me?
Yes, it's an employment agreement between medical specialists and Dr. Thady Leos.
And does that document bear your signature?
Yes, it does.
On behalf of whom?
Medical specialists.
And does it bear Dr. Laus's signature?
Yes, it does.
We'll offer Exhibit K.
No objection, Your Honor.
Directing your attention, please, to page 7 and 8, paragraphs 4.4, 4.5, 4.6, and 4.7. Will you look at those, please? Are those restrictive covenants?
Yes, they are.
Now, with regard to the Laos contract in front of you, did medical specialists recruit Dr. Laos?
Yes, medical specialists did recruit Dr. Laos.
Prior to entering into any contract of employment with medical specialists, was Dr. Laos engaged in the practice of medicine in Northwest Indiana?
Prior to his contract with medical specialists, Dr. Leos was not engaged in any practice of medicine in Indiana.
Prior to the contract with medical specialists, did Dr. Leos have any hospital affiliations at any of the local Northwest Indiana hospitals?
Prior to his contract with medical specialists, Dr. Leos had no contacts or membership on staff with any of the hospitals in Northwest Indiana.
Did he have any patients in Northwest Indiana, to the best of your knowledge?
He did not.
Did medical specialists provide an introduction to other physicians in the community on behalf of Dr. Laos to commence his practice?
Yes, medical specialists did.
And did medical specialists announce his affiliation?
Yes, medical specialists did.
Now, with regard to the contract involving Dr. Sethi, prior to entering into any employment contract, did Dr. Sethi have any practice of medicine in Northwest Indiana?
No, he did not.
Did Dr. Sethi have any hospital affiliations in Northwest Indiana?
He did not.
Did Dr. Sethi have any patients in Northwest Indiana?
He did not.
Did medical specialists cause Dr. Sethi to be introduced to other physicians in Northwest Indiana to commence his practice?
Yes.
Did medical specialists announce Dr. Sethi's affiliation with the practice?
Yes.
Prior to entering into the contract of employment with medical specialists, was Dr. Patel engaged in the practice of medicine in Northwest Indiana?
No, he was not.
Did Dr. Patel have any hospital affiliations at institutions in Northwest Indiana?
He did not.
Did he have any patients?
He did not.
Did medical specialists cause for him to be introduced to other physicians and healthcare providers in Northwest Indiana to commence his practice?
Yes, medical specialists did.
Did medical specialists announce Dr. Sefi's affiliation with the practice?
Yes.
How or in what manner?
Through a very extensive advertising campaign, which included advertisements in local movie theaters, printed material, and introduction to many physicians, and providing time to travel to physicians' offices for introduction by referral of patients so you could make contact with the physicians of those patients.
Prior to entering into a contract of employment with medical specialists, did Dr. Atassi, was he engaged in the practice of medicine in Northwest Indiana?
No, he was not.
Did Dr. Atassi have any hospital affiliations in Northwest Indiana prior to affiliating with medical specialists?
He did not.
Did Dr. Atassi have any patients?
He did not.
Did medical specialists cause for Dr. Atassi to be introduced to other physicians and healthcare providers to establish his practice?
Yes, medical specialists did.
Did medical specialists announce Dr. Atassi's affiliation with his practice?
Yes.
Does Dr. Mouse have a specialty?
Yes.
What is it?
Pulmonary critical care and sleep.
Does Dr. Patel have a specialty?
Yes.
What is it?
Allergy and immunology.
Does Dr. Sefi have a specialty?
Pulmonary critical care, and I think most recently sleep.
Does Dr. Atassi have a specialty?
Yes. Infectious disease.
Now, did Dr. Laus give notice of his intention to terminate his employment contract?
Yes.
Did Dr. Sefi give notice of his intention to terminate his employment contract?
Yes.
Did Dr. Patel give notice of his intention to terminate his employment contract?
Yes.
And did Dr. Atassi give notice of his intention to terminate his employment contract?
Yes.
Approximately when did Dr. Laus cease his employment with medical specialists?
June 30th of 2013.
And approximately when did Dr. Sefi cease his employment with medical specialists?
June 30th, 2013.
When did Dr. Atassi cease his employment with medical specialists?
June 30th, 2013.
And how or in what manner did Dr. Patel's employment come to an end with medical specialists?
Dr. Patel was terminated earlier than the contract, the termination date or cause.
What, if anything, has medical specialists done as a result of receiving notice of the termination of employment by these four physicians?
Medical specialist has done many things. First, the medical specialist kept these physicians employed for 10 months. Medical specialists immediately began to seek replacement physicians. Medical specialists had numerous conversations with executives of non-Franciscan Alliance hospitals regarding continued provision of services within those hospitals. And medical specialists undertook a continued series of discussions with the Franciscan Alliance to support all of those activities.
Has medical specialists entered into a physician employment agreement with a Sunyan chief?
Yes, medical specialists has.
show you what's been marked for identification as Defendant's Exhibit L. Can you tell us what that document is?
It's the employment agreement between medical specialists and Dr. Chi.
And let's turn, if we can, to page 12 of that document. Does that document bear your signature?
Yes, it does.
And how did you come to sign that document?
After agreement with Dr. Chi, the contract was created, placed on my desk, and I signed it.
And in what capacity did you sign that agreement?
As the president of medical specialists.
And does it also include Dr. Chi's signature?
Yes, it does.
We'll offer Exhibit L in evidence.
No objection, Your Honor.
Was Dr. Chi recruited by medical specialists to enter into a contract of employment?
Yes.
Now, besides, and what are Dr. Chi's contemplated duties and responsibilities once she begins to practice?
She'll provide infectious disease, consultative and continued care services, primarily at hospitals which are non-Franciscan Alliance, but also to some extent at Franciscan Alliance hospitals.
Now, as of this time, does Dr. Chi have any active practice in Northwest Indiana?
No, she does not.
And has she staff affiliations at any hospitals in Northwest Indiana?
I believe they're currently in the process of that application.
And does she have any patients right now in Northwest Indiana?
No, she does not.
Now, let me show you a letter of intent that the court reporter has marked as Exhibit M. Can you tell me what Exhibit M is, sir?
It's a letter, an agreement between medical specialists and Dr. Daniel Smith that he will continue to provide services as described between Community Foundation and clinical services to patients hospitalized at Community Hospital, St. Catherine's, and St. Mary Medical Center as a medical specialist employed physician.
Does that document bear your signature?
Yes, it does.
And does it bear Dr. Smith's?
Yes.
We'll offer M.
No objection, Your Honor.
And who is Dr. Smith in relationship to medical specialists?
Dr. Smith is the second physician to join me and a founding partner of medical specialists and a senior physician in the organization.
And what is his background or specialty?
Dr. Smith did medical school, internship, residency, and fellowship at Rush and was exactly 4 years behind me through his entire process. His practice is infectious disease and wound care, and he is one of the most respected doctors in all of Northwest Indiana.
me show you what's been marked for identification as Exhibit N. Can you look at that momentarily and tell me what Exhibit N is?
It's an agreement between medical specialists and Dr. Denise Weaver with the same purposes as the letter with Dr. Smith.
And does that document bear your signature?
Yes, it does.
Does it bear Dr. Weaver's?
Yes, it does.
We'll offer Exhibit N.
Your Honor, I'm going to object to that. At that time, the exhibit was characterized as an agreement. It was previously characterized as an agreement to agree. We do not believe this is an agreement.
Just indicated that it's a document and it's signed by Dr. Stemmer and Dr. Weaver.
And it says what it says. Other than its characterization, I have no objection to that.
I'm going to show you another document marked this as O. And can you tell us what that document is?
I believe this is a Dr. Weaver and medical specialist agreement.
Let's take a look at the dates.
One is dated, they're both dated June 19th.
And then look at the dates of the agreements to which they refer.
And one refers to the medical director agreement of April 1st between St. Mary Medical Center and medical specialist, and the other is the medical director agreement dated March 1st between St. Mary Medical Center, Wound Care Center, and medical specialists.
We'll offer Exhibit O.
Your Honor, I haven't seen it, but subject to the same limitation that the document speaks for itself, and it's not an agreement, we don't object.
Let me show you what I've marked for identification as P.
Do you have another one of the O? I didn't get
Yeah. What is Exhibit P?
It is a letter of similar substance with Dr. Elliot Stoker between Dr. Elliot Stoker and medical specialists.
And is it signed by you?
Yes.
And is it signed by Dr. Stoker?
Yes.
We'll offer Exhibit P.
Same objection is to the characterization, but we don't object to the admission of the data.
So submitted.
I'm not going to show you then Exhibit Q.
This is a letter with Dr. Don Dumont and medical specialists with basically the same concept and terminology as used in the previous ones.
And does it bear your signature?
Yes.
And does it bear Dr. Dumont's?
Yes.
We'll offer Exhibit Q.
I don't have an O now or a Q. Subject to the same limitation, Your Honor, we don't object to the admission of the document. This one Q. No, that's O.
Let me show you now what's been marked for identification as Exhibit R. us what Exhibit R is.
It's an agreement between Dr. Dennis Rademacher and medical specialists, which memorializes our understanding that an agreement that you will provide allergy and immunology services to medical specialists, as a medical specialist employed physician, and medical specialists will compensate him for those services.
We'll offer Exhibit R.
Your Honor, except for the witness's characterization of same, I have no objection to the admission of the document.
Has medical specialists entered into an asset purchase agreement with the Franciscan Alliance?
Yes.
Take a look at Exhibit S and tell us what that document is.
It is a copy of the asset purchase agreement with the Franciscan Alliance, between Franciscan Alliance and medical specialists in PC.
And were you a signatory to that agreement?
Yes, I am.
Exhibit S is offered on green paper because of its confidential nature. We're offering that now.
We have multiple versions of this. We're just checking to make sure what we've got. Okay, we're going to need a minute though. No objection, Your Honor.
Submitted.
And then, after the execution of that document, did medical specialists and Franciscan Alliance enter into an agreement dated May 22nd, 2013?
Yes.
Let me show you what's been marked for identification as Exhibit T. Can you tell us what that is?
It's an agreement between Franciscan medical specialists and medical specialists, which puts in writing a discussion and agreement which had begun long earlier.
And does that document bear your signature? Turn, please, to page 9.
Yes, it does.
And in what capacity did you sign that agreement?
President of Medical Specialists.
And is it also signed by a representative of the Franciscan Alliance?
Yes, it is.
We'll offer Exhibit T.
No objection, Your Honor.
Dr. Sturmer, what's the relationship between Exhibit T, the May 22nd, 2013 agreement, and the asset sale agreement between medical specialists and Franciscan Alliance from 2012?
The agreement of May 22nd puts into writing many of the verbal agreements which existed during the negotiation of the asset purchase agreement, but were not finalized by the time of signature.
And with regard to those agreements, what are you specifically referring to?
Well, medical specialists had functioned as a neutral party providing services to a number of competing hospitals. And it was apparent to all parties that to maintain this relationship, which has gone on for over 3 decades, it would be necessary for medical specialists to employ physicians who delivered services in those competing institutions. Medical specialists functioned as Switzerland in this environment. And what that meant was that medical specialists would continue to employ physicians to deliver these services, and those hospitals which were non-Franciscan Alliance hospitals would understand that they were paying a physician-owned entity for services that they required as opposed to paying a competitor. And that their physicians would be referring to physicians employed by a physician-owned entity as opposed to physicians employed by a competitor.
Now, what, if anything, is the relationship between that express purpose and the letters of intent, Dr. Dumont's Exhibit Q, Dr. Stokar's Exhibit T, Dr. Weaver's Exhibits O and N, and Dr. Smith's Exhibit M?
Well, the purpose of these letters of agreement is to provide those physicians specifically for those services that I described. They were providing their established physicians with decades-long relationships with these hospitals and with the referring physicians, and it will allow these physicians to maintain those relationships.
Now, let's look at those letters of intent, and then let's go back to the medical director agreements that we marked as Exhibits A on with Munster Community Hospital, with St. Mary Medical Center, and with St. Catherine Hospital. What's the relationship between the May 22nd agreement, the letters of intent, and those medical director agreements?
Those medical director agreements are with medical specialists, and for medical specialists to fulfill its its commitments under those, it must have physicians who are working on behalf of and for medical specialists. Now, these physicians are also seeing patients, which is an understood component of all of those duties and responsibilities.
I want to move to strike that portion of the answer that recharacterizes the medical directorship agreement as one that requires the physician to provide clinical services. The document doesn't say that. It says what it says.
I think he indicated that that's part of the component of what those agreements are.
Lack of foundation to make that statement, Your Honor. I wasn't asked of him either. It was volunteered.
I don't think that's his objection. I think that's mine.
Overruled.
Now, since the asset sale in 2012, has medical specialists continued to operate?
Yes.
In what fashion or in what manner?
It has recruited physicians to fill its obligations. It has conducted conversations with the institutions involved to keep them apprised of the status. It has worked with Franciscan Alliance to finalize the financial agreements, the cost appropriate fair market value of the services that will be obtained and that are obtained from Franciscan Alliance to be reimbursed. And it continues to promote those practices.
Since the sale, have you assumed any additional job titles or designations besides that as president of medical specialists?
Yes.
What are they?
I'm the president of Franciscan Medical Specialists. I'm the medical director of the Accountable Care Organization, a feature of the Affordable Care Act, which provides care to approximately 7,500 Medicare beneficiaries in our region. I'm the Vice President of Strategic Planning for Franciscan Alliance Northern Indiana region. I remain a medical director of Kindred Nursing Home and a consultant to Vibra Hospital.
Why does medical specialists seek this injunction?
Medical specialists is grievously and irreparably harmed by the continued work of the physicians who are violating their restrictive covenants. The founding physicians and medical specialists' careers are grievously impacted with competition from these physicians who they introduced into the community, and therefore they suffer a loss, current and future loss of revenues and income. New doctors starting will also be hampered in the development of their career and may be irretrievably or irrevocably damaged in the development of their careers if they cannot become busy and productive on a pace commensurate with their expectations and their needs.
Is Dr. Lau's practicing medicine within the geographical area covered by his restrictive covenant?
Yes, he is.
Has Dr. Lau's resigned his medical staff privileges at all of the local hospitals within the scope of the restrictive covenant?
He has not.
Has Dr. Sethi engaged in the practice of medicine within the geographical area covered by the restrictive covenant?
He has.
Has Dr. Sethi resigned his medical staff privileges at any local hospital within the scope of his restrictive covenant?
Not to the best of my knowledge.
Has Dr. Patel engaged in the practice of medicine within the geographical area covered by his restrictive covenant?
He has.
Has Dr. Atasi engaged in the practice of medicine within the geographical area covered by his restrictive covenant?
He has.
Has Dr. Atasi resigned his medical staff privileges at any local hospitals within the scope of the restrictive covenant?
I don't believe he has.
Will the granting of this injunction have an effect, an adverse effect, on the availability of medical services provided to patients in Lake County?
There will be no adverse effect on the population of Lake County, Indiana.
Why not?
Compared to the staffing, for example, in infectious disease in 1993, when we had to fight the Silurian restrictive covenant battle, we had literally more than four times as many infectious disease doctors for a population of 500,000 approximately, while we had 550,000 people in that time frame. And the same holds true for pulmonary medicine. We have far more pulmonologists than we have ever had before. And in fact, we now have infectious disease doctors and pulmonologists who are not as busy as they would like to be based upon this violation. The same would be true for the other specialties represented here.
Now, Dr. Rademacher has signed a letter of intent, and he is an allergist immunologist, is that correct?
Yes, he is.
And what is the purpose of Dr. Rademacher entering into that letter of intent?
He'll be providing allergy and immunology services to the patients under medical specialists' employment.
And are those services that were provided in the past by Dr. Patel?
Yes, they were.
That's all. Thank you, sir.
How we take 2 minutes recess?
Yes, sir.
Before you start the cross-examination.
All right.